Alright, in this video, I'm going to talk about the number 21 in connection with the United States presidential inauguration. But first, I need to talk about President Franklin Roosevelt and the number 21 because the tradition of Inauguration Day occurring on the date 20/1 really began with him. His distant relative, Teddy Roosevelt, was president when Franklin Roosevelt was 21 years old. Franklin Roosevelt was president 21 years after Teddy Roosevelt died, and Franklin Roosevelt was born while the 21st U.S. president was in office. Franklin Roosevelt was the first president to be inaugurated on the date 20/1, like 20+1. And since then, almost every U.S. presidential inauguration date has been held on that day. The only deviation is when 20/1 falls on a Sunday. And in that case, it would take place the next day, the 21st day of the year. So that was a lot of 21, and I'm going to reiterate that while showing you some screenshots, but I just wanted to emphasize how the number 21 really stands out here. So I'm going to get back to talking about Roosevelt, but I just wanted to talk about this upcoming inauguration and why I thought of the number 21. 21 is a very important number. Not only is it a triangular number, it's also a Fibonacci number. They're related to the golden spiral. Alright, check this out. From the first ever Inauguration Day, the United States presidential inauguration day, from the very first one until the one scheduled on 2021, has 21 all over it when we look at the date calculation. If what I read was correct, the first ever United States presidential inauguration occurred on April 30th in the year 1789. From that date till the upcoming inauguration is 231 years, 8 months, and 21 days. So you see, we have all these numbers connecting with 21. 231 is the 21st triangular number, meaning that if you add all the numbers up, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, all the way to plus 21, the total would be 231. So again, that was 231 years, 8 months, and 21 days. And the 8th Fibonacci number is 21. 21 backwards is 12, and there's some really interesting things to say about 21 being the inverse of 12, and involving prime numbers and such. I'll be sure to leave links in the description box. But just as a segue, we can get 12 from the current inauguration date. Again, it's been that same way since FDR, but our current inauguration date is January 20th, which can be 1/20. Drop to 0, you get the 12. As I said, Inauguration Day has traditionally been held on January 20th since Franklin Roosevelt began the tradition back in 1937. Emphasis on the number 37 because 37 is the 12th prime number. There's a lot of information I'm leaving out because I don't want to be confusing, but I want to talk briefly about Franklin D. Roosevelt. I'm going to make another video about this, but he was the longest serving U.S. president and the only U.S. president to serve for 12 years. That's unprecedented. He served for 12 years. Obviously, 12 backwards is 21. Call it coincidence if you like, but when Franklin Roosevelt was 21 years old, his distant relative Teddy Theodore Roosevelt was serving as President of the United States. Again, he was 21 years old. But that's not all, though, okay? Look at Teddy Roosevelt's date of death. If you use Teddy Roosevelt's date of death as a starting point and go forwards 21 years, the person who's serving as President of the United States was Franklin Roosevelt. But there's more. If you look at the date that Franklin Roosevelt was born, look who was president when Franklin Roosevelt was born. The 21st President of the United States was Chester Arthur. He was in office when Franklin Roosevelt was born. Franklin Roosevelt has all those 21s. Alright, just a quick recap and then I'm finished with this video. Once again, Teddy Theodore Roosevelt was president when Franklin Roosevelt was 21 years old. Franklin Roosevelt was president 21 years after Teddy Roosevelt died, and Franklin Roosevelt was born while the 21st U.S. president was in office. Franklin Roosevelt was the first president to be inaugurated on the date 20/1, like 20 plus 1. And since then, almost every U.S. presidential inauguration date has been held on that day. The only deviation is when 20/1 falls on a Sunday. In that case, it would take place the next day, the 21st day of the year.